Today is a somber day. It's a somber day because what we hold most dear, our democracy, was in real peril on January 6th. That day we had, as you heard from many of the previous speakers, a president for the first time in our nation's history refused to accept the peaceful transfer of power, refused to accept the election result, and did everything that dictators have done throughout the world, authoritarians, by discrediting institutions to promote the big lie. And in doing so, he put our democracy in peril. He instigated and provoked extremism, domestic terrorism, a violent mob coup d'etat against our own government, our own legislative branch. A violent coup d'etat where police officers were hurt and killed. This was an assault, a coup d'etat that we've never seen or experienced before. So on one hand, we were grateful that our institutions throughout the country and in Washington held, and our democracy proved again that it was resilient. But by the same token, it peeled back and demonstrated the fragility as well of our democracy. I happen to be at the Capitol office, my Capitol office, that day. And what many people don't realize is that the reason there were less people, members, senators, and House members in the actual House floor is because Speaker Pelosi, a few days before, had told everybody, unless you are part of the procedure to certify the votes and certify the election, the electoral votes, stay in your offices. Not because we were completely aware of what was going to transpire, but because of COVID. She didn't want people to continue to put themselves or others in danger of continuing to contract COVID. So for the most part, most members were in their offices in the Senate and in the House, with the exception of those that were part of the procedure and members that, as Speaker Pelosi said, if you feel so compelled to be part of this historic certification of the electoral votes of this historic election, let my office know that you're coming and we'll let you stand or sit in the gallery. I was about to go to the gallery, but I happened to take a detour and wait a bit before I actually went to the gallery. And it was during that time that everything started to happen. So there became a lockdown. We had the TV on like all Americans. You could see what was transpiring. It was a surreal moment that within our own country, extremists and other Americans were conducting terrorism against our government at the request and instigation of a sitting president. And it was a violent coup. This was not your ordinary variety protest. This was a violent coup incited by our sitting president, Donald Trump. We have a huge responsibility to make sure that we shed light on what really transpired. We have a bipartisan January 6th Insurrection Commission right now that has been stood up and is going to get to the truth of who organized, instigated this coup, whether it was the former president and his associates or allies, who fundraised for it, who actually organized it. All the facts are starting to come out. The American people deserve to learn and know the truth. And we will get to that truth. I want to read you a few facts that I think are important for everyone to understand. There's been 725 individuals that have been arrested to date. 165 have pleaded guilty. 70 have been sentenced. Around 30 have received prison time, and 40 of them got probation. The Department of Justice brought conspiracy charges against 40 defendants, mostly those who have ties to extreme right-wing groups. Over 150 Capitol police officers were injured. 5 of them perished. Including 4 rioters or 4 extremists, domestic terrorists. Those are just some of the facts, startling facts, of what transpired. Needs to happen now, because the big lie not only occurred then, but it continues today. Many mainstream colleagues across the aisle continue to propagate and promote the big lie. Really disingenuous. Moreover, they're encouraging voter suppression throughout our country. Over 30 states have passed voter suppression laws in their legislatures, signed by their governors, to suppress the vote. Aren't we supposed to make the vote easier for Americans to participate in their democracy, not suppress it? So what we need to do is get over that hump and reform the filibuster and get those pieces of legislation that will bring about voter protection over the finish line. And what we also need to do is make sure that all Americans throughout the country and here on the Central Coast, that we don't take our democracy for granted. If we don't step up, if we don't step forward, if we don't participate, if we don't engage, our democracy could and will be in peril. Make no mistake about it. Thank you so much for the opportunity to represent you in Washington. I'll continue fighting for us all. Thank you.